Batman Year One. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now, Batman Year One is an origin story for the Batman. It's a modern take for the modern continuity of the original origin story telling Bruce Wayne becoming the Batman. Now, as the title states, Year One, this tells of the first year of Bruce Wayne being Batman, or at least the start of the first year, and it's told from two different perspectives. First is, of course, from Bruce Wayne being the Batman, and the second is from Lieutenant Jim Gordon, the new cop in Gotham PD. Now, the story starts off with Bruce Wayne returning to Gotham from his extensive, long training to gain the skills, traits, and abilities needed to fight crime. And upon his return, instantaneously, Bruce Wayne goes into action, donning a disguise looking like a common thug to take out the grime and the crime of Gotham City. However, things don't quite go the way Bruce wants it to, and he gets badly injured. See, no matter how well trained he is, no matter how skilled he is, the criminals aren't scared of him at all. And while laying down injured in his study, a bat bursts through the window and lands. And there, Bruce Wayne gains the inspiration to become the Batman, a symbol of fear, because criminals are superstitious and cowardly lot. From that point on, he becomes a mass vigilante, going on the streets of Gotham, taking out crime whenever he sees it, fighting the corruption that is Gotham City. However, this is Batman at the beginning of his career. He's not in the prime of his life. He needs to learn to become the Batman. He makes mistakes along the way. Some big mistakes, some small, but he perseveres on because Gotham needs him. At the same time, Jim Gordon has come to Gotham. He has been transferred there. He's a good cop with a wife, a child along the way, and all he wants is a good life for his family. However, he finds out that Gotham's probably the last place you would want to go to give your family that good life. See, Gotham is not only ridden with crime, but it's corrupt to its core, and Gotham PD is a great example of that. The cops are dirty, with Commissioner Loeb being the worst of them. And the only reason why Jim Gordon stays around is because he's a hero in the eyes of Gotham City. The star cop who can take on any situation when necessary. But what happens when he has to be put up against the Batman himself? See, Gotham PD doesn't like a mass vigilante going around and roughing up their own little fun area that they have created, their own little corrupt system that they have. And they want Jim Gordon, star cop, to take down the Batman. But what happens when Jim Gordon finds out that the Batman isn't quite as bad as everyone paints him out to be? What happens when Jim Gordon finds out that the Batman is what Gotham needs? And what happens when the Batman finds out that Jim Gordon is what he needs? On to the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Well, the writing is fantastic in this. There's no doubt to that. I really like how the story is told from the two different perspectives. You get the classic Bruce Wayne perspective, the growing, the maturing, and the becoming of the Batman. He stumbles and falls, and he has to learn a lot of stuff. He even gets beat up by a few kids at one point, but he eventually becomes the Batman. And then you get the perspective from Jim Gordon, who's weighed heavy by his duty, his family, his morals, and also his interactions with the Batman. Actually, Jim Gordon comes out to be probably the best and most well-written character in the whole entire story. In addition to that, this is a very street-level story, and very realistic. There's no supervillains in this, no beings with powers taking on the Batman. These are common street thugs, corrupt policemen. The Batman doesn't even have ridiculous tools and accessories that he normally has. Sure, he has tasers and a blow dart and a few batarangs, but that's really about it. It's very street level, very basic, and it works very good for the story. In addition to that, the art is very nice. It works well with the atmosphere that's painted in the story, which, if I could give a word to the atmosphere, other than dark and gritty, is basic. And the art is very basic, but at the same time, it's very realistic. You know, characters aren't ridiculously jacked and muscular like sometimes they're portrayed in comics, or women aren't over the top, unrealistically shaped with thin thighs and huge breasts. No, it's very realistic art, but at the same time, very basic art too. So the art does a good job and it complements the story writing. The characters are well developed in this, and the story is well paced with great synergy. Bad. Well, there is one or two bads to this. The first bad, and this is more of a personal gripe for me, is I did not like the portrayal of Catwoman. Yes, Selina Kyle does show up as Catwoman, and she's portrayed as a prostitute. I find Frank Miller likes to portray a lot of his females as prostitutes, but I won't get into that because I'm not reviewing that. Luckily, the whole Selina Kyle being a prostitute gets retconned out and is no longer considered canon, but it wasn't really necessary for the story. You could still tell the story for what it is and not have that be Selina Kyle's occupation. Another thing is I would have liked one more issue to put into this to kind of wrap up some of the loose ends that are left at the end of the story. Now, those loose ends are dealt with in later stories like Long Halloween or the Legend of the Dark Knight series, which kind of fills up the rest of the first year of Batman's career. But it would have been nice to deal with some of those loose ends. Whether or not you should get it. Absolutely. Batman Year One is a must-have for Batman fans, and a definite must-get for comic book enthusiasts in general. I can be very harsh on Frank Miller, especially his more recent work, but there's no denying that back in the 80s and a little bit in the early 90s, Frank Miller was a great writer, and Batman Year One is a portrayal at his genius when it came down to writing at that time. I consider it better than his Dark Knight Returns story, which a lot of people consider to be their favorite Batman story. But this, I think, is a lot better than Dark Knight Returns because it's more well-paced and has better synergy. It's a great origin story for Batman, and you don't need to know a lot about Batman to get into it. You don't need to know about his continuity, you don't need to know about the characters, because, like I said, this is where it all starts. It's a must-have for all Batman fans, a first thing to get for new Batman fans, and definitely something to consider for comic book enthusiasts who just like reading good comic books. So with that said, Batman Year One, definitely pick it up. It's an enjoyable read and one of the best Batman stories out there. With that said, this is Andrew saying peace out for now.